Part 1 video in this series discussed the framework God has provided our Israelite nations for our policies and actions based on His promises and blessings to our patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In Part 2 video, I discussed statements and actions President Trump has taken that have an impact on America's security. In this Part 3 video, I discuss how Germans and German masqueraders have stolen my business and economic development ideas and have made me suffer throughout my life. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide a unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In Part 1 video, I provided information on which nations are descended from the 12 tribes of Israel. The United States is descended from Joseph's son Manasseh. British Commonwealth nations of Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and whites in South Africa are descended from Joseph's son Ephraim. Other nations descended from the other tribes of Israel include the Jews in Israel and worldwide, and a branch in Ireland primarily from the tribe of Judah, but also some from Levi and Benjamin. France from Reuben. Simeon and Levi were prophesied to be dispersed among all the tribes of Israel, with the largest portion of Levi or the priestly tribe living among the Jews. Holland descended from Zebulun. Finland from Issachar. Primarily Denmark and some in Ireland from Dan. Switzerland from Gad. Belgium from Asher. Sweden from Naphtali. Norway, Iceland, and some Jews from the tribe of Benjamin. I also listed God's promises and blessings conferred on our patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and us as their descendants, which also impose obligations on us on how we deal with other nations. In light of these obligations, in Part 2 video, we discuss some of the statements President Trump made concerning the Panama Canal, Canada, Greenland, and Gaza, and actions he has taken that will have an impact on our security. Before the November 5, 2024 election, but before President Trump's inauguration, I had offered to work with President Trump to make America great again economically, just as he has chosen to work with Elon Musk to help reduce federal government spending. President Trump had heard that I had laid out the best plan to accomplish that in January 2021. I then had vibes that President Trump was considering asking me to work with him to implement that economic plan for the United States. That plan can have a major impact on the U.S. economy and its international trade within 2 years, and within 4 years make America impervious to attacks by nations that are forming confederacies to undermine the U.S. dollar and its economy. However, President Trump has probably chosen to listen to the counsel of some people who advised him that he does not need to work with me directly and does not need to pay me anything for my services. They have advised him to stay silent, and I have a habit of giving out my best ideas that help the country or our best corporations for free. That way, President Trump's team will have access to all my ideas without having to pay me anything. After all, their goal is also to prevent me from earning any money, to keep me in poverty and prevent me from marrying. They have been able to accomplish all that ever since I came to the United States in August 1981. Moreover, the Germans had asked Satan in about 2000 to give them access to my thoughts by broadcasting them so that they could have access to my business ideas. Satan and the demons have been doing that ever since. Therefore, President Trump will also have access to my ideas for helping the economy that way. That's why he does not need to invite me and pay me to help his administration develop and implement an economic development plan for the United States. President Trump has listened to that advice and quietly shelved the idea of asking me to work with his administration, like he asked Elon Musk to help his administration. What the Germans did by asking Satan and the demons to broadcast my thoughts was to steal my best business and economic development ideas, besides all my ideas on technology, health and wellness, international relations, and many other important issues. They were motivated to ask Satan to do this around 1999 to 2000 when I offered my suggestion to Microsoft and other software companies to use mathematics to develop more efficient subroutines to develop software. IBM used that suggestion to develop much faster computer chips for their personal computers. This breakthrough in IBM PCs stunned the Germans. They asked German masquerader CEO of IBM Lou Gerstner for the secret. He told them that it was my suggestion to use mathematics for software development that led to the breakthrough. That's why the Germans asked Satan to broadcast my thoughts so that they could get free access to my business and technology ideas. Such wholesale stealing with the added goal of keeping the victim of theft from earning any money to keep him in perpetual poverty has consequences. God is not pleased. God indicts nation in our time for such attitudes, among others, in Revelation 9 verses 20 to 21. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. The Germans and German masqueraders epitomize all these attitudes. They worship or honor Satan, and the demons are given to demonic practices, promote and commit murder, indulge in fornication and other forms of sexual immorality, and in robbing and plundering others. Germans asking Satan to broadcast my thoughts so that they could steal my ideas has had consequences. Within a couple of years of asking Satan to do so, God turned the tables on them. I believe in 2000 or 2001, I was thinking about the effects of the possibility of Germans buying up stocks in some of the best American companies and then controlling the American economy and getting rich through dividends and stock appreciation, as well as replacing American executives with German masquerader executives, further strengthening their stranglehold on the economy. America would not be able to stop German control of America's economy because if America tried, it would be an act of war leading to actual war. I was merely thinking these thoughts and did not share these thoughts or ideas with anybody. But since the demons had started broadcasting my thoughts, the Germans learned of my thoughts. Thinking that America would fear an attack by Germany, they decided to buy up the best American companies. They even asked German masqueraders to sell their stock holdings in these companies so that Germany could buy them. This stock buying spree went on for a few weeks. After the spree ended, and the Germans were very pleased with the control they could now exercise over the very best American companies with hundreds of billions of dollars of stock assets, they got a rude shock some months later when the US did not allow repatriation of stock dividends. For a few years, the Germans tried every way they could to threaten the US government, even sending then German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder to Washington, D.C. in June 2005 to threaten President Bush with dire consequences for the United States if we did not allow repatriation of dividends or sale and purchase of the assets. There must have been fireworks in that meeting. Schroeder went home empty handed with the message that Germans should not threaten the United States. After that meeting, the Germans realized that they have lost those assets for good. Since then, they pulled out all the stops to reduce their value by manipulating stocks and other means through German masqueraders in the United States. By 1995-1996, the US government had already learned about the massive discrimination against me and German masqueraders destroying my budding software and IT business so that they could hand it over to Indians allied with them. The United States government under President George W. Bush simply impounded all the assets and has since then decided to keep them for my benefit as compensation for all the German and German masqueraders have stolen from me and for unprecedented discrimination despite all the contributions I made for the benefit of the US economy. That's how God turned the tables on the Germans and made them pay compensation for stealing my very best ideas by asking Satan to broadcast my thoughts and keeping me in poverty all my life. My plea to President Trump is to not listen to counsel that says he should not deal with me as he can have access to all my ideas in helping the US economy for free. But that's not how things work. Everyone will know what Elon Musk accomplished at Twitter, and those ideas could be used in slashing the federal workforce. But President Trump is a businessman. He knows that there is a huge difference between having a plan to achieve results and achieving those results. Execution can make all the difference. That's why he chose to work with Elon Musk rather than merely use his ideas. By the way, I'm in no way endorsing everything Mr. Musk is doing with the federal government. Now, President Trump has access to the economic development plan I formulated in January 2021. He also has access to my business and economic development ideas broadcast by demons. He has been advised to implement them without any help from me so that I would continue to live in poverty and prevented from getting married even though God chose a wife for me in 2001. Germany has suffered the consequences for stealing my ideas. It is simply not fair to steal someone's ideas and deliberately choose not to compensate that person. I request President Trump to take that into consideration before he accepts the counsel given to him. I am still willing to offer my services to help America's economy grow by leaps and bounds, but unfortunately, I am not in a financial condition to offer them for free as Mr. Musk can. I have explained many times in my previous videos how I have been made to suffer in India by Indian allies of the Germans and then by German masqueraders in the United States. I will briefly explain again to plead with federal and state authorities to not continue to make me suffer. I was originally a Sikh before I converted to Christianity in 1973. Germans targeted the Sikhs for extermination after World War II because they fought against them in both world wars as part of the British Indian armies. They made alliances with other Indians to target the Sikhs. Those Indians discriminated against Sikhs in jobs and business opportunities, who are a mere 1.7% of India's population. Since I showed academic promise, perhaps up to 100 attempts were made on my life in India, but I miraculously survived through God's intervention. In my MBA program in India, I was a top student, placing third overall. I was unable to get a decent job in India because of the discrimination. Therefore, I came to the United States as a PhD student in marketing and international business on a full scholarship at Northwestern University. I was one of those who slipped through the cracks to come to the United States. German masqueraders, who are people of German ancestry living in white countries, tightly controlled enter into the United States. Only those who had met the hurdle qualification of murdering a person of British ancestry or an American in India or a Sikh were given student or any kind of visa into the United States at that time in the 1970s and 1980s. Because I had not met the German masquerader hurdle qualification, life was made extremely difficult for me within a few months of my coming into the United States. I was not allowed to live or sleep in peace. This trouble has continued throughout my 43 years of living in the United States to this date. I was made to feel like dirt with people yanking away their faces from me. Within a year of my coming into the United States, I had diagnosed the so called free trade as the cause of America's lackluster economy in the early 1980s. Therefore, I started preaching against free trade while still a PhD student. As a result, I was forced out of the PhD program. I tried getting jobs through the placement office at Northwestern but was unable to because German masqueraders had decided to prevent me from getting a job. I got a marketing research job on my own initiative, but German masqueraders succeeded in getting me kicked out of that job within 3 months. I had not got my green card at that time and faced the possibility of being deported. I applied for hundreds of jobs but was unable to obtain even one. Then I got an opportunity to get into the software business to develop software for automating export order processing and documentation in Chicago in collaboration with a church member in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who also sponsored me for a green card. I struggled with that business for 2 years. At the same time, I was greatly troubled in my apartment by not being allowed to live in peace. In an incident, a neighbor started a fight with me, and my hand got caught in a door that he slammed shut, severing the top digit of my index finger in my left hand. An attorney from my church advised me to retain an attorney whom he recommended. After a year of negotiations, the attorney told me that he had reached a settlement of $17,500 with all defendants, and I was given $10,500 as my portion. Only yesterday I learned from my sources that the settlement reached was for $5 million for racial discrimination and personal injury. The attorney I retained, my church attorney who recommended him to me, and probably the law firm Kiesler and Berman, in which the attorney from my church worked when I retained the attorney, divided the nearly $5 million in this theft from me among themselves. I filed a complaint in Illinois, but it was dismissed. German masqueraders have been successful in threatening all attorneys till today to not work with me to help me recover that stolen money. Coming back to the software business, after 2 years of struggling, I was finally able to obtain the right programming support and the business began to take off. I started dreaming about expanding the business by hiring the best Indian IT talent or information technology talent who were being paid $3 to $5 per hour in India, bring them to the United States and pay them $25 to $35 per hour and charge the companies $50 to $75 per hour. German masqueraders realized the potential of the business. With threats, they forced my software partner to break the agreement with me and kill my business. With threats, they would not allow anyone else to work with me. They then gave my business ideas to the Indian allies who have set up the same businesses which today have market capitalization worth tens of billions of dollars. Then German masqueraders started spreading the rumor that I was mentally retarded and incapable of running a software business. Such rumors are resuscitated periodically to this day. I was on the streets again, struggling to survive. I applied for a job with IBM in 1988. I analyzed IBM's business and advised the company to set up consulting services rather than merely providing software programming services. The company implemented my idea immediately, but German masqueraders made sure that I would not be given a job at IBM. My suggestion implemented by IBM is now IBM's main business. I again applied for hundreds of jobs but was not offered any because of interference by German masqueraders. To survive, I also passed the CPA exam with some of the highest marks and applied for jobs with dozens of accounting firms of all tiers, but no one offered me one. So I continued my accounting, tax, and consulting practices. I also started a campaign to convince the American government that the American economy was suffering because of the so called free trade. I waged that campaign single handedly for 14 years and wrote a paper explaining my ideas and my model of economic development and international trade, which finally convinced Nobel Prize winning economist in 1996 that my model provided the best strategies for economic development. I applied to the federal government for various international trade jobs but was not offered any. Then German masqueraders began interfering in my accounting and tax practice to drive clients away from me with threats. Finally, I was forced to give up that business because of the threats of being sued. Then briefly I became a financial advisor. But German masqueraders had me fired from that job by not allowing any clients to work with me. From then on, I've had to survive by working on near minimum wage jobs such as a call center agent just to pay my bills. Even from each of these jobs, German masqueraders have had me hired only a couple of only a few months. Then I got a call center job at a low wage with the Florida Department of Children and Families, or DCF. Till that time, the longest I had ever held a job was 9 to 10 months before German masqueraders succeeded in having me fired. They tried to have me fired from that job almost immediately after my 6-week training, but I survived. However, they made my life hell on the job by asking clients to slam the phone down after the call ended, because of which I went home with a headache almost every day. Though I had become very knowledgeable on the job, I was not given any promotion. Attempts to have me fired continued. After 7.5 years, German masqueraders finally succeeded in having me fired from that job as well. During the time I worked at DCF, I had an auto accident in 2011. My attorney told me that he had reached a global settlement with all the defendants for $12,000, and my share after fees and expenses was $6,200. I reluctantly accepted that settlement because I did not know the inner workings of auto insurance at that time. After I was fired from DCF, I got a call center job with an auto insurance company working on auto policies. Then I realized that I had been cheated out of the settlement my attorney had reached on the auto accident. Now I know from my sources that the settlement reached was $1.2 million, of which I received only $6,200. In 2018, I had filed a complaint with the Florida bar against the attorney, but my complaint was dismissed. Florida State Attorney's Office also took no action. German masqueraders are able to make sure with threats that no attorney will work with me to recover that money stolen from me. While working at the auto insurance company, I suffered the same harassment from clients as at the DCF job. After working for 1 year and 8 months, German masqueraders had me fired from the insurance company job. I was 67 years old at that time. After that, I simply gave up looking for jobs and survived on Social Security benefits and covered the rest of my expenses from my meager savings. Now, I've sometimes wondered why the federal government has never offered me a job. I wondered if I was not offered some higher level jobs because I have taken credit for my accomplishments. Perhaps the president feared that I take credit personally rather than giving credit to the president and the administration. That would mean that I was not a team player who could undermine the boss. If such an assumption was made, then I have to say it is not true. I know how to work as a team and to give credit for the team boss. I also fully understand that senior level people in the administration work at the pleasure of the president, and the junior level employees are answerable to the senior level employees. But I have never asked for cabinet level position or assistant secretary level positions that require Senate confirmation. I have merely begged for $80,000 to $120,000 dollar job as an analyst so that I could live decently. That way, any administration could see how I would behave and the kind of work and analysis I could perform. However, when no job was offered to me, I had to state my accomplishments so that someone could offer me any kind of job to help me survive. In addition to all this suffering, more than 1,000 attempts have also been made on my life over the past 43 years since coming to the United States. I hope this explains how I have been subjected to suffering throughout my life, orchestrated by Germans and German masqueraders. In part 4 video, I will briefly explain my accomplishments in the hope of convincing President Trump that I can deliver on really making the American economy boom and develop international trade linkages that will nullify efforts of countries forming confederacies to destroy the value of the US dollar or control our supply chains and charge us whatever prices they want and hold our economy hostage with the ultimate goal of destroying it to make most Americans suffer. Then I will address President Trump's specific economy related actions and policies in other part of this series. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also follow me on my X, YouTube, and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini. My X handle is X at True News Saini. A reminder that I have renewed my Premium Plus subscription on X, and it will be my main platform for posting my videos and text of my videos.